Good morning, guys. So this semester I decided to read Frankenstein not only because I have to for my literature class, but because it's remarkable in the way that it portrays its characters and plot elements. So the story begins in a town called Geneva, Switzerland, with a recognized family called the Frankensteins. Victor Frankenstein has been obsessed with knowledge for a very long time. And then after many, many family deaths, he ends up becoming also very obsessed with bringing back life and ending death. So he decides to try to become like God and revive a figure back into life. And so he goes to cemeteries and morgues, digs up these things, and brings this thing back to life, but it doesn't come out quite the way that he wanted it to. And he calls it a catastrophe. And he says, "How can I describe my emotion at this catastrophe, or how delineate the wretch whom with such infinite pains and care I have endeavored to form?" So he calls this thing a wretch and a catastrophe. So basically, you can already get the feel that Victor hates this thing. He doesn't want this. He doesn't know what he's done. He thought that this would turn out well, but he was so blinded by his ambition that he could not figure out that this was a bad thing and it had consequences. So he gets so distressed by it that he goes to the next room and takes a nap. And one thing I love about this book is, characteristic to classic literature or Gothic literature, there's always a damsel in distress, and it seems that Victor is the damsel in distress, and I think that's just funny. But anyways, the creature comes back and tries to meet him, because you have to remember that Victor is a father to this creature. But Victor runs away, and when he returns, the creature's gone, and he takes this as a blessing. But then his little brother William is murdered, and his housekeeper is framed with the crime, and none of the family believes that she did it, and Victor knows that it was the creature. He's certain. And then the whole time, the creature lives in this cottage with the DeLacy family, and he's learning from them, he's reading books that they had, but he's hiding from them because he can't be seen, because people don't like the creature because he's hideous. And so basically, he reads these books, he tries to talk to the DeLacy family, but they freak out and then run away. And so then he gets angry and burns their cottage and all their stuff. And then he starts walking through basically the entire world trying to find Victor, but he doesn't know how to ask for help for directions because he can't, because people are afraid of him. And so, but he ends up happening upon Geneva, and he finds this little boy, and he thinks that he's free from the prejudices because he's only lived on the earth for maybe like 5 years. William was about 5 years old. And he finds him, and he tries to take him. But William freaks out, and he ends up saying that he's going to tell his father, Mr. Frankenstein, and then the creature asks him, "Are you related to the Frankensteins?" And he was like, "Yes." And then, so he ends up figuring out that he's related to Victor. And because of this, the creature kills William, and then frames the housekeeper for the crime to get his revenge. And then from reading Adam and Eve, the creature decided he wanted a female counterpart. And so he goes to Victor, tells him that he murdered his brother, and tells him he will continue to murder more people unless he makes him a female counterpart, which he could escape to Africa with. Not Africa, South America. And Victor ends up deciding to do that. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of the book because that's the ending, but basically, this book is very interesting. It's got very interesting personality traits in this. Victor is very arrogant, he's very egocentric, and he wants all the knowledge. And because of all these deaths that he's had in his life, he gets so sick of it, he wants to revive the dead, and I think that's something that's very interesting. The creature, on the other hand, he starts off very optimistic and innocent, which is a complete foil from Victor because he is very pessimistic all the time and he hates everything, and he's not innocent at all. He's definitely no saint. And then he ends up creating this creature and runs away from it, which kind of like, this creature gets like daddy issues because it doesn't have a father. And then so it just wants to have a family. And he goes throughout this. Sorry, I ran out of storage. And so some of the psychological things I was seeing is that the creature. That's another thing. Don't mistake the creature for Frankenstein. He's not Frankenstein like Hollywood portrays it to be. He's just the creature. He has no name, which is a big part of his kind of. Victor doesn't like him. And so, one thing that I can notice from psychology is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The creature really wants love and belonging so much to the fact that he will sacrifice his safety, he will sacrifice anything. He sacrifices his own like dignity just to get this love and belonging that he wants so desperately. And he ends up hurting himself in the process. And eventually he kind of decides that it's over. He has nothing else to give to the world. And he doesn't want to be with humanity anymore. And so then he wants his female counterpart because he becomes lonely. Victor seems to put his self-esteem above everything else. He doesn't care for love. That's really interesting because Maslow's hierarchy of needs really works in this book because Victor was very obsessed with himself. He wanted to be the best. And so he's very stuck at that self-esteem level, so much to the point where he never has a love life. He never has anything else he wants to do. He doesn't care about his safety. He doesn't care about anything else except for what he's remembered for and what he can do. Whereas the creature takes it a little step further, and he gets to the point where he wants love and belonging so much that he ignores his health and safety. And I think that's interesting that works so perfectly with this book, and that's why I chose this book, because I can really see that as a good example in here. And I would recommend this book to probably a friend, not really an enemy, because I feel like this book is just too good and interesting for my enemies, but I could definitely recommend this book to a friend. Thanks, guys.